Hello and happy Tuesday. This is our Intuitive Tuesday. So amazing, and I'm glad you can be with me here today. So today on our Intuitive Tuesday, we are going to talk about trusting the process of the universe. I don't know about you, but that's really a struggle for me sometimes, right? Trusting that the universe is got you back and you're on the right track and you're doing what you're supposed to do. I think the hardest thing for me is like surrendering that control and the patience that is needed behind it. So we're just going to talk about that a little bit today, right? And hope that this inspires you to trust the universe's timing and the finding of peace in moments of uncertainty. Yes, and I am sure many of you, as myself, are going through these moments of uncertainty. So it's that much more, critical that we take this and we do something with it, right? And we learn from it and we try to put it into our everyday practice, right? So trusting the process of the universe means believing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, right? Even when things are unclear or challenging, like a lot of unknowns behind it, right? And I mean, I don't know about you, but I have definitely gone through situations in my life where there's been uncertainty and being able to let go and trust the universe in that process. Oh, that's really a challenge, right? And so we're just going to talk about that today, and I'll share some of my own experiences. Um, so the first thing, right, to kind of help us get into this mindset and to be able to harness the trusting of the universe is, surrendering control, right? Life doesn't always have to look the way we expect it to, and that's okay. When we release the need to control the outcome of everything, you create a space for new opportunities to emerge, right? And I'm going to tell you, probably about 9 times out of 10, when we let go of control and allow things to happen naturally, what's going to end up happening in the end is going to be better than anything you could have done yourself. I mean, that's definitely true for me, right? There's been situations where things have turned out better than what I could have done. And that's kind of helped me realize that holding on so tight to something or holding on to the outcome of something, right, isn't all that critical. Being able to let go and let the universe, or some people say let go and let God. It all depends on what your belief systems are for that. For me, it's just letting go and let the universe, right? And let the universe take it and run with it. If we break it down to something very simple, I mean, something simple that everyone has dealt with. Let's say, being late to get somewhere, right? So, like yes, it was probably like a week or so ago. I was late leaving the house, um, to get somewhere. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm 8 minutes late. I gotta hurry. And so I'm like putting in, my map, the address I need to go, and yeah, I'll still get there on time, but I really like a nice 30-minute window to allow for accidents or unknowns that may be on the way, right? And so, 8 minutes late, not a big deal, honestly, but I was just like, okay, all right, I'm okay. I get in the car, got headed out, literally a mile of the road, not even a full mile of the road, near the interstate. There was a car accident. Right? There was two vehicles involved in an accident, and I saw the accident. There were other people there, but first responders had not gotten there yet. So there is a good chance that if I had left on time, like that 8 minutes earlier, if I had left on time, there's a very high chance that I would have been involved in that accident, right? And so I look at it as like, man, the universe had my back, you know? And so how many times have you like been delayed on getting out the door to get somewhere? And then as you're traveling there, you notice that there was like an accident or a situation on the side of the road. And there's a good chance that you may have actually been involved in that if you had left on time. So this is like, those are like simple, easy things, that the universe does for us to give us, you know, clarity on letting things work out in time, right? And I would say like I'm getting better at the control thing. I'm not perfect at it. I'll be honest. I'm not perfect at it, but I am getting better. And so when situations like I'm running late, I just keep the mindset of like, I'll get there when I get there, right? And it'll be okay. I'll just let anybody that needs to know that I'm running a little bit late, but it's okay. I will get there when I get there. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all, right? And so just being able to let go of that control and controlling every aspect of things. You know, um, I was laid off from work, from my regular, I'll say 9 to 5 job, but I worked a lot more than just 8 hours a day. I think it's true. I worked like 9 and 10 hours a day. Don't miss it at all. I'm telling you. But I got laid off and, I didn't panic. I didn't go out and try to like see, another job right away. I just sat back and allowed the process to happen. And I'm going to tell you, like, things just started unfolding right in front of me. Um, and now I'm able to do my spiritual work, which is be true, um, on a full-time basis. And this is amazing. And if I had gone out to plan anything, I would have planned signing up for another full-time job with the government or a big head corporation. But, I paused, um, and I let the opportunities come to me and the opportunities have been flowing and they've been amazing. And I can't complain about any of them, right? And those opportunities are better than what I would have decided for myself for those. So releasing that control, I mean, it's scary. It is, but just knowing that, you're stepping into your purpose or you're walking into your purpose, you're doing what you're supposed to do, that's all you need. It's having confidence in that and believing in that, right? And the next biggest thing on that is practicing patience. Oh, patience. What a lovely word. The timeline of the universe is often different from our own, right? I can tell you the timeline of the universe is way different than my own because if it was my own, everything would be like now, right? And I think we're kind of in that state of now. I want it now. We're spoiled a little bit and want it now. That's just one of the things that happens. But, it's learning to trust that delays and detours are not mistakes. And many times they're moments designed to prepare you for what's coming up, right? And to prepare you for what's next step in along your path, right? Along your journey of where you're supposed to go. So having patience on how things should happen. So we can take this again, like real simple, right? And so let's just say in having patience when it comes to, like you send somebody a text message, even something like that. Send somebody a text message and they don't respond right away. Oh my goodness, you may get anxious. You be like, oh my goodness, are they mad at me? Why aren't they talking to me? Why are you responding to me? Like you may have the urge to reach back and be like, hey, did you get my text? Hey, what's going on? What I would say is there's no telling what's going on in that other individual's life, and what they're dealing with at the moment. And so just having patience and knowing that they'll get back to you, when the timing is right. And this can kind of get tricky because we kind of get, we all have these little negative thoughts that come into our head. And we may be thinking, oh, what if they're mad at me? Did I do something to deserve not to be da da da? You know, um, was I too demanding? Was I too desperate? Was I too insecure? Did I come off wrong? Like all these things can kind of start just rolling in your head, right? And so these are our negative thoughts that somewhere in our history we have picked up because of the feeling that we are unworthy, right? And so being able to silence the negative thoughts that comes through is important. Being able to realize that whatever that thought is the root cause from something else and not necessarily of what's taking place at the time or at the moment of having that patience. I am in the process of writing a book that addresses these very things. It's Embracing the Shadow of Ourselves. Um, and I hope the book will be out on the shelves in 4 to 6 months. Um, when it does, for sure I'll let you know. And really excited about it. But it's being able to identify the root cause of those negative voices and being able to transform them into positive, understanding where it came from, understanding that it does not define us, it doesn't make us who we are, and being able to grow and transform from that and letting those negative voices go, right? So for today, I would say when they come in, just realize that they're not accurate, right? Remind yourself that you are worthy and that you do matter and that you're waiting for universal perfect timing on what's going to happen. Yes. Because, patience can be very challenging, but once you learn to like breathe in and breathe out, like breathe through it and calm your inner self, it's like all of these kind of things kind of like become like an internal, like you can feel your insides like on edge and uneasy, right? And so learning to soften that and quiet that and to be in your own. And if that means that you need to read a book, you need to go for a walk, you need to go and keep your mind busy on something else, by all means, allow yourself the grace to do that, right? To be able to step back and have patience. And if that means just keeping your mind busy and your time busy with something else, that's fine just as well. There's no right or wrong way, right? To embrace the patient side of things. One other part, that's really kind of important is, um, lessons in uncertainty. I'm going to tell you that lessons in uncertainty, growth within. So our own internal growth and self growth comes during times of uncertainty, right? And so you can ask yourself, what am I meant to learn in this moment? Yeah. So when you're waiting on something to happen, you're letting go of control and you have this uncertainty around you, be still. And it's not just be physically still, but be still your mind, right? And be still your nerves and your nervous system, like just calm down, right? So whether it's a meditation, a sound bath, um, whatever it is for you, right? So learning to be still in that moment. And then just ask yourself, what am I meant to learn in this moment? If you journal, you can start journaling those things down that come to you. If you do video journaling, start talking about those things that start coming to you, right? Um, and then just see what comes from that. It might be that, you need to trust what's happening and realizing that there's divine timing in everything that we do. Yeah. So this will help you kind of reframe some of the challenges as opportunities for wisdom and strength to grow internally, right? And you're changing your mind and your thought process and you're looking at something differently. Yeah. I want to tell you, like, self growth is an amazing thing. And if you knew me, let's say 30 years ago, and you know me today, I'm not the same individual. I don't handle situations like I did when I was younger. I sit back and I'm pretty easygoing and calm about things. But let me tell you, if there's something that needs to be done and there's somebody that's not holding up their side of the bargain, right? I I do have to confront it and I do have to talk about it. But I think that's just kind of like the leadership side of me because I was a manager for so many years in the real world. Um, but yeah, I mean, you know, being able to take a different approach to things and how you look at things and how you deal with them is really important, right? And so building that wisdom and that strength in the midst of the uncertainty, right, is a wonderful tool to grow on, right, and build upon. And also having faith in the unseen. Mm. Just because you can't see the big picture doesn't mean it isn't there. A good example is a seed, right? You plant a seed in your garden or in a little pot and you water the seed and you set it out in the sun so it gets the nutrients that it needs. And that seed starts growing underneath the soil before it ever pierces through it, right? And then when it comes through it, it's still very tiny. Like you're only seeing a little tiny bit of that, but it'll grow into a flower, right? You plant a flower, it'll grow into a beautiful flower and bloom, or it'll grow into a vegetable that you can eat or a fruit that you can bite into. Yeah. So, knowing that these moments, not the unseen, right, is a big thing. I can tell you an experience. Um, My spiritual journey has been a long one, and I think once we all step into our spiritual awakening and go along our journey, it can be long, right? I don't think there's never an end to it. It's a constant learning, a constant adjusting and having faith and so forth and so on. And so, the other day, a couple of weeks ago, I was looking back and kind of thinking about like, wow. Thinking about my own spiritual journey and where I am today, right? Because I am on YouTube today. I have my own webpage. I'm publishing a book. I do events. I teach classes. I do, trance channeling. I do individual psychic readings. I do energy healing and sound baths. Like I would have never imagined that my life would incorporate all of these things in it today. And I was looking back at where this journey actually started, right? What was the first little pebble that was thrown to start my spiritual journey? And one of those pebbles was a friend of mine, and he took me to this metaphysical bookstore here in Atlanta. And we're sitting, we're parked outside in the parking lot. He's like, you should check this place out. It's like you'd find a lot of things in there that would resonate with you and help you along your life path. And I remember at the moment, I had no interest in spirituality, had no interest in anything that I do today, even for a living, right? It's kind of funny. I mean, this was like a little over 2 decades ago. So it was around like 2001, 2002. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, okay, well, I'll check it out, but I don't know how it's going to help me any, like what is it going to do for me? But it's truly amazing. Like I didn't go into the store that day, right? I probably didn't even go into the store the following year. But I know I went in there probably around like at least 2 years from then, right? Because I always remembered it. I always remembered that little bookstore that he took me to. And I remember the conversation and I remember my thoughts at the time. Like, I even remember it till today. Like, I always remembered it. And thinking back, that was probably like the first pebble that was thrown into my spiritual journey that I can remember. And even though at the time I couldn't see the big picture of it, today I can. And I can see the big picture of all those little pebbles that have been tossed in along the way. And it's pretty amazing, right? That you can think about. by that and see where you've grown and where things have come from. So, realizing the big picture is not always like right there in front of you, but some of our greatest things that happen to us, may be invisible to us until we get into the midst of it, right? Into the midst of that gloriness and that trusting and allowing. Yeah. And it's kind of how it's happened for me. And I think it's pretty amazing. Yeah. So, I would ask a couple of questions, right? And you can either drop your answers in the comments. That would be great. So the first one would be, do you trust things happening for a reason, even if it's not unclear at the moment? So if something's happening to you at the moment, it may feel like your world is being turned upside down, right? And you've like lost all control. Then you still have trust that things are happening for a reason, even though in the moment it may feel chaotic, right? So, and that's a hard one. I mean, I know like we want to say, yes, I can trust that. But I'm going to be honest, like there may be times where I'm not really sure if I could trust that, because when you're in the midst of the chaos, sometimes it's hard, but having the underneath belief of that it's all going to be okay and everything's happening for a reason and identifying what your lesson is there to learn, those are great, great tools, right, for you to use. And so, you know, so think about it for a minute. So how can you practice patience and surrender in your daily life? Like just throw me something in the chat. Like, how can you practice these things currently in your daily life? We could go back to the text messaging and realizing that if you just send a text to someone and just let it go and let them respond in their own divine time, but their divine time is not going to be the same as yours, right? And so just allowing that to happen and when it's supposed to happen, not wanting to control the outcome of situations. I think text messaging, because we all do that daily pretty much. I can give you an example. I was in communication with someone for several days regarding getting some photos made. And we were in good communication for like 2 days, and then all of a sudden, all communication stopped. And so I'm like, okay, well, she must be busy. Like I sent what I had to send, and I was like, she's busy. They'll get back to me when they can. And I'm gonna tell you, like several days had passed. I'm gonna say probably close to like 3 to 4 days had passed before they reached back to me. And we picked up the conversation right where it left off, you know, and something had happened on their end that needed their full attention and that they could not, respond to me at the time because whatever they were in needed their full attention. It was truly understandable, right? And so again, that was their time and that was things that was happening in them and in their world, which is completely separate was for what was happening with me, right? And what I needed from them. So it's just, letting things happen like they're supposed to in the divine timing and what they're supposed to. All that it is, right? Not trying to control everything that happens. So just and simple, by letting go of control, being patient with life's timing and finding meaning in uncertainty, you can open yourself up to an abundance of possibilities that the universe has to offer. Yeah, trusting the process because growth happens in that space between the plan and what the universe has in store for you. And remember that you're always being guided. Even if it feels like you're standing still, you're always being guided. And I'm going to tell you, there's nothing wrong with being still in the moment of uncertainty. It doesn't mean you have to go and react, right? It doesn't mean that you have to do something to make something happen. Stillness can give you calm, right? Because it provide yourself calm, it gives you the opportunity to reflect on what is happening. And it gives you time to connect to your higher power, whatever that may be, and determine what's the next step, right? Because sometimes, like, we don't want to be in a reactive mode for everything that happens, right? Something happens and you react. Something happens and you react. How about something happens, we pause, we sit with it, and then we respond, right? And when you respond, you're more in a trusting space versus a react, because in a reaction space, you're in a non-trusting, I gotta control this, I gotta write the narrative of this. But when you're in a responsive state, you're able to follow more of the universe's plan. And so do you ask me, well, how do I know what action I take is my plan or the universe's plan, right? I think most of that comes with the feeling that comes with that, right? How does it feel when you think about taking action on what you're looking into doing, right? If there's a lot of anxiety or anxiousness or rush or hurry, 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 you know, that may not be the universe, right? That may be you trying to control a situation to where the universe is more of a pull. I would say it feels like more of a pull, like, oh, I need to do this. Okay. So like doing these videos, for instance, like it was a pull for the universe for me to start doing these YouTube videos. So let me tell you, I sat on them for a minute, right? I didn't just jump right into it and started doing it. I sat there for a minute. Oh, one of mine come through my readings that I do for other people. And if I find myself giving a message over and over and over and over again, at least 3 times in my readings, I'm like, I need to make note of this because this is something that I may need to take on and start doing myself, right? Because I do read for a lot of other practitioners, and giving them advice on their work, on their spiritual work and their healing work and what they're doing. And so, if 3 things keep coming up, and we're all not doing that thing. If one thing comes up 3 times and we're not doing that one thing, that I'm like, maybe this is something I need to pay attention to as well. But I don't just jump in and react, right? I wait for clarity on what I need to do, and so that can come through journaling, that can come through meditation, that can go through your video blog, right? If you do a video blog, for yourself, or if you do video journaling, like these messages can come through there. And if you are doing video journaling, I would say, after you journal it for a couple of days, go back and listen to it, because I guarantee you there's messages in there that you don't remember saying, right? That are for yourself. So trust the process. Trust that this universe has you back in your back, because it does not want you to fail, right? It wants you to thrive, and it wants you to succeed and do some amazing things. And I know you all have that ability within you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to know more about me, just check out my information in the description and hit subscribe so you can stay up to date on the most latest things that we're doing. Thank you, and it's been a pleasure.